navigate word problems, I'm not going to lie to you. But it is very doable if you put in the work. That's just it. It's going to take work to be able to do this. Okay, guys? That's the bottom line. Like, I wish I could just give you a magical lesson where you just don't have to do any work. It doesn't work that way. So what I've done is, before we even get started with word problems, I've created scenarios that are almost like these scenarios that you're going to see here are like the most common ones by far. So if you understand like that this is what could happen, then you'll be like, which category does this fit into, this word problem right here? And so that's what I'm doing with this slide right in front of you. So page 35, so types of scenarios, right, for word problems. And remember, in order for a problem to be solvable, a lot of students forget this part. If I give you 3 pieces of information, you are actually good to go, okay? You just need to sometimes figure out how does that translate elsewhere, okay? So these steps, you know what? I'm going to give them to you, but you don't have to follow these steps. But in general, obviously, if you sketch the problem, that's the way to start. Like, sketch it, interpret it, what's happening here. Give it letters, like A for, or T for tower, right? A for airport, like whatever it says, like give it a letter that kind of works with that context, okay? So identify the unknown angles or sides that you're asked to solve for, okay? And assign variables. This one is gold here. Use the sum of 180, if at all possible. Or watch this one. You're going to love this one. Alternate interior angles are congruent. It's going to show up, okay? So I'm going to use that. Subtraction of angles, supplementary and complementary angles. What are we talking about there? Try to find angles that add up to 180 perhaps as a straight line. Remember the straight angles, right? If you have this somehow, and if I cut it, if you know this one, you automatically know this one, right? Like that's just bottom line. Complementary, what is that? 2 angles that add up to 90, right? So if you have, right, something meeting at a 90 and you cut it, if you see that, you're actually being given a lot of information there. So don't pass up on these things. So this is going to fill in your diagram often. When you think you're stuck, think again, right? That's where step 3 is coming in handy, okay? Watch this. If the height, I'm going to use a different color because this kind of puts it in a different category. You're listening, right? I know, it's been a long weekend. If height or altitude is provided, folks, you're dealing with right triangles, okay? You know that that's going to happen already. Step 5, check if the information you transferred makes sense and is in the correct place. I'm not going to highlight anything there. I think everybody knows that that should be done anyways. And then number 6 is that's when you set up and solve. Include units, round to 2 decimals, all right? So 2 big categories, 2 big ones. First, we're going to deal with angles of depression, okay? So these are the 2 most common ones. I'm going to use a different highlighter for this one. So if you have situations where I talk about angles of depression, they're always measured with respect to the horizontal. Did I talk about that at the very beginning? Okay, I don't think so. So I will talk about that in a bit. Just hang on, okay? But watch this. If you have a ship, for example, this is the ocean here. This is the water surface. That is what I call the horizontal. Okay? Water surface. Somebody knocking? Oh. Hold on. Okay, so one thing that I want you to know is for ships or airplanes, it acts similarly. It may be that you're getting 2 angles of depressions on either side, so this ship is kind of looking in opposite ways. So you can call, I usually go angle of depression like this. AOD, I will often use that. Okay, so this is one AOD, and this is another AOD. Okay, so you've got two angles of depression looking separate ways like that. Now, let's see, this is where your genius comes in. I gave you a bunch of angles, right? Is there any way that I can extract more information out of the current numbers that I have there? Braver, you said yes. Are you looking at the straight line up here? And you've got two angles, right? So what must this must be, these all angles along this straight line here must be supplementary, right? So you could technically determine this if you wanted to, if it works, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Right? So this angle right there, you can find by going 180, right, minus the 45 here, minus the 30 there. Okay, so you've got 105, 105 degrees for that one. Boom, you now know way more than before. Okay. Another one, I'm going to use a different color pen here. Do you remember alternate interior angles? This is the surface, this is the water surface, and this is the bottom of the ocean, right? Or of the lake, river, what have you. What do you think these two lines, we would consider them parallel, even though not always, right? The ground isn't always perfect, but in this diagram it is. So if this line is parallel to that line, what can we do with this 30? It's over here. You can actually bring that in here and say, hey, there's the 30 right there. Alternate interior angle. So this is just getting you warmed up to what's to come, right? We're actually not solving here. We're just saying, hey, how can we get more numbers in? Why am I doing this, by the way? Why am I doing this? Because often we want to use this triangle in here, this one. So I use supplementary angles. I use alternate interior angles to fill this in. What about this 45 over here? Can we do the same as we did over on this side? Yeah. And I'm not going to write down why because I've already done that here. So all of a sudden, that triangle that used to be pretty bare now has a lot of stuff in it. Okay? By the way, if this is a 90, this is also a 90, correct? I don't have to tell you that. It's just, I will never have both boxes there. You just assume that. Because, again, it's a straight angle here. If there's 90, 180 minus 90, 90, right? There we go. So you've got a bunch of right triangles. You've got this oblique triangle here. And you'll see how that's going to slowly come together. So don't panic just yet if it's too busy. I won't be using that many annotations normally, but that's this case. Okay. So we'll just under this one write down straight angle. Okay, this is my justification for what I did there. Some students, okay, they might not see this, so they'll be like this. Watch, this is a vertical line here, right? So what are these two angles right here?